Okay, welcome everybody to another little peek inside my coaching studio. I'm here with Lisa today, and we are going to be working on Isabella's To Whom Should I Complain? And some of the things that we're going to be looking at ideally is getting into the emotion of it without forcing, how to get out of your head, getting into the physicality of it. So we're going to pick apart some of that today, and I'm sharing some of this stuff because I've got my group program coming up where we do exactly these kinds of things. And it's my kind of summer Shakespeare intensive. It's called Practical Shakespeare, where over 10 weeks, we do 2.5 hours each week together. And I'm going to show you a Shakespeare technique each week. And then I'm going to also show you how you can apply that to contemporary material. So you can always be moving yourself forward and thinking about how you're working in your practice and your process. So if that sounds good, then I'll link that in the description for people watching. But let me first introduce. Now, let's make sure. Did I pronounce your name right? Are you Elisa or Eliza, or how do you pronounce it?
Lisa is fine.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I actually pronounced a name incorrectly in the session the other day, and I was like, oh, I should be checking these things before we start recording. But that's okay. We're here, and thank you very much for being with us and sharing your work. It's very kind of you and very generous. So let's let's jump in. Are you happy to just show us a bit of where it's at right now?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I will put myself on mute. Take whatever time you need to kind of get in the headspace, and I'll let you do things.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear within them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. Oh, to my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabel lived chaste, and brother die. More than a brother is her chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, how was that for you in terms of, you mentioned that sometimes it feels like you're forcing. How do you feel in that run through?
I felt a little bit better than I usually do.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I wasn't watching it and being like, oh no, she's totally faking it or anything like that. I think, I think I think there is good specificity. We talked about specificity. I think there is. I think there's some things that we can do here to make it easier for you, actually, to kind of like let it kind of flow a little more, both with the text and I think with the emotion, because often when we get the text to flow, the emotion also flows because we're not kind of feeling like we're laboring it so much. So there's kind of different ways to explore it, but I've got there's something in particular that I want to work on with you, and that's just kind of, and I think this will also help you with kind of getting that specificity in the text and exploring it in different ways. So if you were working in a production and a director said to you, I want you to stress this particular word, what would you do with that word? If they were like, oh, I want you to stress the word mouth, just for example, what would you do to make that happen?
Yeah, I would probably like land on the M, mouth, and
Yeah.
then like also kind of in singing to like round out the vowel, and like, and I've learned this from watching YouTube, putting the emotion in the line and in the vowel.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think that's great. So, and particularly for people watching, I would say, and you know what, I'm going to bring it actually going to bring this up on screen so people can see this for a sec, because I'm going to write down the different ways that you can stress things. So, sorry. So different ways to stress, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but you may already know, even if it's kind of not in these particular terms, but this is how I label it. Different teachers will label it in different ways. So I would say the pitch is an obvious one, and volume is an obvious one, right? We kind of go, yeah, okay, I can change the note or I can change the volume. That makes sense. I call one attack, which I would say it's usually to do with consonants. So when you said like lean into the M, that I would label that attack. It can also be to do with breath. For example, if you've got something that starts with a vowel, you can't really hit a consonant at the start of the word, so you might be breathing into it in a different way. So that I call that attack, but different people might call it articulation. It's just different ways to think about it. Duration, which is essentially length. So that's exactly what you said with mouths, like leaning into the vowel there. And then there's also tone, which is just vocal tone, like vocal quality. So if you were to go nasal for a second, or you're going to whisper it, or, laugh through the line, that kind of thing. And that one we usually do the less of, because it can be a little much to do it all the time. So if you were to look at those, do you know which one? Usually we have a favorite that we're drawn to for stressing. Do you know, if you like instinctively you think you might do one more than the other, or more than the others, I should say?
I would probably say I hadn't, yeah, I like attack. I hadn't thought of it in that word, but probably attack.
Attack, yeah, cool. So yeah, so most people have got, so I would say especially singers tend to be pretty good at doing a lot of them. So I would say that you're probably doing all of them fairly well. But I reckon for you, what can be useful, let's make this more conscious for a sec, and let's really explore each of the different areas. So I'm jump out for a sec. So what I want you to do, and we'll just do let's just do the first section. So let's just go to whom should I complain, and let's just go up to follow as it draws before she sort of starts talking about her brother. And I want you to start with volume. So I'm not going to tell you which words to stress. You can do that instinctively because you're experienced. But if in doubt, go for the word at the end of the line. But I want you to just think about giving me, I'm only going to use volume to stress the words that I want to stress. And the other things will also come just anyway, but just you're going to focus on volume, and the other ones are just a little, that will come byproduct, I should say. Yeah. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, cool. All right, cool.
Okay. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear within them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws.
Yeah, cool. I loved when you said cooking. I mean, that was kind of attack as well, but like it worked. It was an interesting thing that came out. Great. Like, just keep that in your head for a sec. Now let's do pitch. So we'll do the same section again, and I want you to concentrate on, let's see if we can take you a couple of notes, either kind of further away or just different notes. So if you're thinking like a singer, any notes that you haven't touched, see if you can push yourself a little further in your range, see if you can break some of your habits of what you normally do pitch wise. And you're going to explore with pitch to stress particular words.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this who me? That bear within them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws.
Ooh, fun. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And just so like for you, but also for people watching, I want to be clear here that this is exploration and this is not like you're I think you know this, but sometimes people have not worked in this way, in that we're exploring what's there and we're not necessarily going for like the good thing right now and the good acting. So don't yeah, I feel like you know, but often people are scared because they're like, but it doesn't feel good, it doesn't sound good. That's okay. It's totally okay. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to just be exploration. So let's go again now. And so we're going over the same bit of text over and over to explore different things. I want you to do attack now. So this one probably be pretty easy for you. So let's, oh, you know what? No, let's leave attack. I think you are nailing attack. Let's leave attack for a minute. Let's do duration. So I want you to like over lengthen all the vowels. So it can be extreme and it will probably sound bizarre, and that's okay too. But just go nuts with it. Cool.
Okay. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Perilous mouths that bear within them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws.
Right. Okay, cool. So there are things in there, in all of those exploration, there are probably little things that you might be like, oh, that was cool on that word, or that was something that I haven't explored before. This, even for you, I think, because you're quite experienced, this could almost be a warm-up kind of thing for you, of just when you're running through the text, and especially because you mentioned getting stuck in your head, and probably if you're keeping this as an audition piece in your repertoire, this is a good exercise just to break your habit, right? And making sure that you're not doing the same stuff all the time. I would put this on your warm-up list, like before I actually even, you don't even have to do a lot of work on this, but if you were picking it up again suddenly for an audition, do a couple of run throughs of just playing with this stuff, just to kind of be like, what else is there? What's new? What are my habits? What have I been doing this whole time that I could break potentially? Where is there room to move? And especially out of all of those ones that we did, was there any that you found particularly like more challenging than the others?
More challenging. They were all challenging, but probably the most was maybe duration, just because it felt not natural, but
Mm,
it also, I think, was the most helpful, actually,
yeah,
even though it was the most challenging,
yeah,
because it
yeah.
most had tweaking.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm noticing for you is that I think breath is going to be the thing that helps you through this. And I'm going to give you a couple more exercises that drill down a little more on the breath, and that ties into duration as well, because that's all kind of yeah, it's all related. So yeah, let's do an exercise here. What I was going to say about that though, before we do that, is that often the one that's the hardest is the one that's most useful, exactly as you say. And it's probably the thing that if you are like, I've only got a little bit of time to work on it, do that. Do that one, that the thing that's uncomfortable, do that one first, even just as a warm up, do the whole monologue and go over the top with it. And what will happen is it will kind of start to, once you put it back into its regular pattern, it will have kept a little bit of that stuff anyway. So it will naturally, all of this stuff will naturally color the text to give you that specificity that you're looking for. And while you're still in this kind of place of making choices, let's say this is this early sort of stage where you really want to get it good for an audition, you could do the whole monologue in each of those ways, and then pick apart which bits did I actually like the hooking, for example. Were there any particular bits that were useful? Maybe it's just the word mouths is great with using duration. Maybe there's one particular line where I really want to stretch it. So start to go through it analytically in this early stage where you can go, yep, I'm going to keep those, and then later use it as a exploration exercise to push yourself outside what you normally do. Is that clear? Have I been clear with that?
Yeah, that's very clear. Yeah, no, that's great.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's jump into a different exercise. I'm going to actually bring the text up on screen again because I want to do some verse line stuff. Okay. So, okay. So again, and then I want to, yeah, I want to work with the length, the lines and the duration of the lines. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. Yeah. You dance as well? You're a singer, dancer, you musical theater background?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 awesome. So okay, so we're going to do some ballet arms. Now I'm not a ballet dancer at all, so I'm sure this is
I'm not a
this
ballet
might
dancer. I'm not
okay,
a
great.
dancer. Yeah.
Fake ballet arm. But we get the idea. What's useful about this? So we're going to do a ballet arm for a second for the length of the line. What's useful about this? I want you to think about frame. The way that you would hold your, I think they call it port de bras, and I think this is what it is. I mean, I'm not a ballet expert, but the idea here, what will help us is this idea of suspension and continuity over the line. So what you're going to do is you're going to do one, and I'll see if I can back it up a bit so we can see a little bit more of me. So I'm over here and I'm even like, I'm holding my arm out. There's variations you can do on this, but I'm leaning into it and I'm bending over the length of the line, and then I let it land over there, and then I'm going to do my other arm. I'm really going to breathe into it, and I'm going to suspend over the course of it. So I'll just do like 2 lines there to demonstrate that. Now, it doesn't have to be unnaturally long. We're not necessarily kind of leaning into duration in the same way. What we're going to go for is that continuity and allowing the breath to connect to the body. So if we breathe, whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, right? So I'm controlling the line as I go, and I'm going to make sure that, and because even that first line, I was like, oh, that was quicker than I expected. I'm not over the other side yet. That gives me information, right? Do I need to slow the line down? Is there actually more energy through the line? It feels short. Maybe it should be faster. I don't know. So I'm going to experiment with that. I'm going to just put that away for later. But for this exercise, so let's do, yeah, actually, let's keep doing the first section. We will move on to the next section a bit later, but let's do the first section up to follow with the draws. Really think about, breathe into the line, take time between the lines, and we're really working with the verse line, not the sentence. Yeah, is that, you know what I mean by that? Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right, I'll let you do that. Cool.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make courtesy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I want to do something slightly different with you, actually, because I want to get you a little, I want to find some of the darkness for you. And part of that is vocally, because your voice is naturally lighter, which is totally fine. I just want to kind of make sure that we're balancing that and getting some of the color, some of the chest resonance and all that kind of thing. And also because of the content of this, it has such darkness, such bitterness. It doesn't have, you don't have to focus on that necessarily, but there is something violent and grotesque happening here. So I want to make sure that that's connected to you in a really in a deep way. And so we're going to work through the body to do that. Now, let me see. Yeah, there's a few different things. So I'm going to give you a couple of different exercises and we're going to see how they resonate with you. Okay. Do you have a little bit of room there? How much room have you got to move around?
I do, yeah.
Any? Okay. All right. So you know what, because you're in a small space, what I might get you to do is I want you to run on the spot for the course of the line. And then on the last word or couple of words, you're going to scoop and stretch. And you can bring it in if you want, or you can just scoop. But one of the things that's really important about this is grounding down and scooping, because this one, you're getting good suspension and good I was going to say sustenance, like sustaining the line. But what I want is the gathering and the groundedness of it. So, for example, to whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouth. You see what I mean? So I'm really throwing myself into it and I'm getting up. So, and planting my foot when I scoop. Okay, I'll let you have a try with that. And then if there's anything that you need to clarify, you can ask me.
Okay. All right. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear within them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws. Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's intense, right? It's full on. Okay. I want to keep even drawing you even further down into that. Are you naturally a soprano when you sing?
Yeah.
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 Cool. That's fine. Okay. It's a little tricky. It's a tricky thing, I think, because often, particularly in Shakespeare, I think we can kind of yeah, just even culturally, there's this kind of like um we revere the low voices, the Kate Blanchetts and that sort of thing. But what, and you don't have to be that, but I think what is useful is making sure you have all your notes and you're not neglecting some of the stuff that could be there for you that could give you color, right? Because it just gives you something to work with. And we really do need our full range, which I do. So I'm going to do a couple of things. Let me see with you. So okay, let's get you, I'm going to keep moving you. So I want you to do a sigh and a sag before my sigh and sag before each line. So you're really gonna. I'm doing, in case you can't hear it through Zoom, I'm doing a really low note. I'm really dropping my butt and I'm kind of releasing my arms. So I feel kind of like an ogre. I'm not tipping forward. I'm thinking about heaviness through the pelvis and grounding through the feet. My legs are quite wide. So actually, even for a second with me, can you kind of do an ogre stomp? I want you to really stomp on the floor. Yeah. Think you don't have to go forward. Just think more like heavy through here. Yeah. And you can sway your arms and start to make a little bit of sound down low, some little ogre grunt. Yeah. And see if you can try and sync that up with your step. So it's really just kind of puffing out of you. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. All right, great. Now, I want you to go into, I'm going to just actually tip this a little so you can see my legs slightly. So I'm going into like a horse stance, like a karate kind of horse stance. So I'm planting my feet, or sometimes called sumo stance, which I think is slightly wider. So you can be quite wide, whatever's comfortable for you. So you can drop your butt, but I'm going to get you to drop your butt fairly straight, right? Not a squat, but like pointing your pelvis down so you can actually so tuck your tailbone so it's pointing down. Okay, cool. So it doesn't have to be super low. Just make it sustainable because otherwise you'll, puff out too much. Get comfy. And before each line, you're going to release. Really make sure you're releasing your tummy. And then I just want you to, whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Now, what's really important about this is after you sigh, you still need to have a deep breath in, right? The sigh will release tension, but you need to still energize the line. Otherwise, it'll be like, so, big sigh, and then breathe. Who would believe me? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Have a try and we'll see. Let me just clarify.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear within them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws.
Fantastic. Okay, great. I'm going to keep you moving. So this is all just, did you feel anything then, by the way? Like, did you feel it kind of open up in your chest a little?
I did. I really did.
I can hear it. Yeah. So, and it's like, it's not like it's suddenly like an octave lower. It's just that we're accessing those couple of notes down the bottom. It's coming, it's a little more connected, you know. And I want to, actually, I'll explain why we're going to do this in a second, but I'm just going to throw the exercise at you straight away. We're going to walk down the scale. I actually want you to pick somewhere in the middle of your scale, and you're going to intone each line. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? And then we're going to walk down the scale. Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one, etc. You get it. Cool.
Okay. All right. So just start somewhere.
Yeah, pick somewhere just comfy middle range, like not super high. Just think about what comfy middle, even sort of, yeah, I was going to say speaking range, but just your middle of your singing range. Yeah. Yeah.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this?
I want you to
Who
fully
was...
sing. Sorry, but to be clear,
Oh,
I want you
sorry.
to yeah, imagine like you're singing like we're doing a scale now. You're actually going to sing it fully. Yeah.
Okay. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws.
Keep going a couple more. Couple more.
All to my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor.
Okay, great. Yeah, cool. So it's there. It's there. Good. Awesome. So now, with all that in mind, I want to have, let's do a run through of the second half. We'll start with though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood. And I want you to just I actually just want you to think about, I'm only going to use my low notes comfortably. I'm just speaking, but I'm only going to use my lowest notes of my voice. Yeah, don't hurt yourself, but just mindfully, I'm going to sit down the bottom of my range for this run through. Yeah.
Okay. Though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabella live chaste, and brother die. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest.
Cool. Okay, cool. So how are you feeling about this? Is there anything useful in this process that you're I mean, I'll tell you a little bit more about where I'm taking you in a sec, but so far, what's useful and what's uncomfortable as well? Like, tell me about how you're feeling.
I love this. You know what? I don't even think that I knew to say it, but my voice is one of the things that I wanted to work on most, because I do find
Oh,
myself in that really high range, and it is a habit.
right.
And I know I have the lower notes, I just don't always access them. And even as I'm talking to you, I feel my voice has just more richness in it. So yeah, no,
Mm.
I feel great. I love this. I feel more grounded, and
Mm.
like connected to my breath. And I think what I was talking about before in terms of like embodiment, I think that this helps me to really physicalize it more
Mm.
with my head.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm glad because I think this it really does ground us. I think that just reminding ourselves, it sort of feeds both ways, right? That sometimes just reminding ourselves to love those lower notes and bring them in. It actually, I don't know if it's just to do with the resonance, like the vagus nerve. I don't know the science, but like to me, it's like here I am on the earth, right? And it reminds me, and particularly for people, if you have that kind of double whammy of having a tendency to get stuck in your head, plus a higher voice, which also I think lots of skull resonance happening, lots of sinus resonance happening, and nasal resonance, all that stuff is happening, which is great. It's just missing some of the lower resonators, which this is the whole thing. But it can, I think it feeds both ways. When we're up here, in our voice, we're often up here in our heads mentally, right? We've lost touch with our voice, and so it could be a result of our voice is high and therefore our energy is high, or it could be we're up in our heads and then also our voice goes high because that's where we are. I hope that makes sense. It is a little, it's a little airy fairy, but it also it works. So for you, I think a few things that I would put on your list on kind of the ongoing practice is things that ground you to the earth. So that could be running, like it could be yeah, even the literal running stuff is actually very grounding. It's also running, yeah, on the spot, running around the room, very grounding, getting into the body, but also things like literally lying down on the floor and go full out into the emotion, but lie on the floor. Child's pose, weirdly really effective, and also like hands and knees, so in a sort of yeah, on all fours position. Also, it's this kind of connecting ourselves to our own body, connecting ourselves to the earth. These things really help us just kind of drop in, and it also helps release tension, which might be creeping in, without you realizing it. I think, because you've got a singing background, what's great is that, like, I suspect there is tension creeping in for you, but it's really, we don't listen to it and be like, oh, your voice. It's kind of like, um, you've got the resonance there because your voice is healthy, right? Your voice is healthy and you know how to use your voice. So your voice is working. So it's not a problem as such. It's just there's more that you can do. So
Right.
one of the things that I also want to look at that I think, and it is a vocal thing, but again, I think it's affecting your emotions, coming back to breath. I think you're too breathy on your sound. And I say that lightly because I suppose I would say breathiness to me it actually falls a little into tone when we talked about the different ways to stress. That breathiness to me, that's actually a tone choice. And if you're choosing that all the time, partly it can be hard to listen to because it is a tone choice, and we kind of go, okay, we're hearing this sound a lot, and I want you to use other things. But also, it will affect you so much in terms of your groundedness, in terms of your flow, in terms of your connection to your emotion. And I know that I've sort of talked about breath to you before. What I want you to do is only use the breath you need. And I want you to be fully on voice, right? Which is why the intonation stuff, I would put that on your regular warm-up list. In tone, the line, so you are fully on voice. There's no, we want to habitualize being on voice and not going onto a breathiness. And I also want to now do some verse line, a bit more verse line work. And that's kind of why we're doing this one as well, is to think about you don't need extra breaths during the line. You only really need one, unless you're really doing it on purpose. Like, for example, if you really want to have a breath before I'll to my brother, maybe for all perilous mouths, but chances are probably don't need that extra breath. You could actually pause even without taking the breath. And this is something that I encourage people to experiment with in this piece, because she had these big changes in the middle of a line, like I'll to my brother. That's so difficult. You could follow as it draws. I'll to my brother, and I'm pausing, but I suspend the breath. I don't breathe, right? Because I don't need it, right? It's Their choices, though, there's no hard and fast rule, but there are things here that will help you. So, do you have any questions about that, all that stuff I've just sort of thrown at you? No, that's
No,
clear.
that is clear.
Awesome. Okay, let's do some exercises to kind of attack that through a little bit more. So that's one of the ballet arms is one. For you, I actually would say even just we could kind of adapt it a little to work more with that groundedness. So we could actually do, and no, yeah, I might even put this on your homework list because we don't need it right now necessarily, but you could actually do like a bottom ballet arm, but in a sumo squat. So, to whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? And actually paint it downwards instead of over the top. So that I think that actually will help you ground as well. So, I'm going to write that down. So I'm going to send you some notes, but let me write that one down before I forget about that variation. So variation, downward ballet arms. I like this. I'm excited. I haven't done that before. So, all right, but let's do a little more verse line stuff. So I'm going to put it up on the screen again. There's so many different ways we can do verse lines, but let's just do it simply. I want you to speak through this first. Let's just do this first section. Actually, let's go up to I for my brother. I want you to speak through it, and I want you to emphasize. I want you to really drive towards the last words of the lines. Make the last word or words of each line the most important. And I want you to be really conscious about not taking any breaths in the middle of a line this time. So you're only ever going to breathe, let's say at the end of a line, or if you prefer to think of it as at the beginning of a line, that's fine too. It's essentially the same thing. It just different people like different things. So yeah, let's experiment with that and let's see what happens.
Okay. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws, all to my brother.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I'm processing. I'm thinking of things. All right. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So I want you to go faster. I want you to not worry about duration, right? Let's just let it flow for a sec. Like I actually want you to go, let's see how fast you can go. And you're only allowed to slow down. You're only allowed to do duration on the last word or words. Everything else is going to be like, yeah?
Okay. To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or reproof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws, all to my brother.
Okay, interesting. How did that feel when you did it that way?
Yeah, it felt intense in a different way, and it felt like her mind was moving quickly. But I also felt, maybe this goes with the mind pitch thing, like I also felt my pitch creeping up as I was going faster.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think this is the challenge, right? Because we've got all these balls in the air where we're trying to do like multiple things at once. And with your pitch stuff, I would think about that as like this is a long-term thing that you're going to shift because there's only so much that you can do consciously, right? And in fact, I'm going to jump out so I can just talk to you. There's only so much you can do consciously when you're performing. So we can't control all the things. There will be things that need to be habitualized so they start to happen naturally and you don't have to consciously be like, use your lower voice, because you don't have brain space for that, right? So because you just need to be present and in the character and making sure everything makes sense and you're responsive and all those things. So be really forgiving of yourself with pitch. Really, really think about that as every day when I do my warm-ups or I do my practice, I'm going to do something to remind myself, to remind myself that I can sit down lower in my voice. and I'm going to make that feel comfortable and safe and normal for myself. But that is going to be 5 minutes every day, right? Or 10 minutes, whatever. That's my daily practice. Or it doesn't have daily practice, just whatever's realistic. But then when I do my work, I'm completely forgiving of what happens in my range, right? If I have brain space, if I have a little time to practice that and have that in my mind, that is fine. But that is not the focus of every single run through, because otherwise it will take up all your space. So yeah, so completely forgiving. So, but let's do something now. I want to focus on, no, I don't want to, I want to try something else to kind of keep balancing it out, but in a different way, and in a probably a slightly easier way. Quite often I'm saying to people up inflect at the end of lines, and that's really a really common thing to people for people to be told when they first start Shakespeare, is just like up inflect at the end of a line. So make sure the last couple of words are a little higher. You're naturally doing that anyway. I want to do something different. I want you to actually down inflect. I want you to kind of like end the sentence. Did I tell this? Oh, perilous mouth. I want you to down inflect everything, which it will be too much, but we're going to do it just for the exercise of it. Yeah, to break the patterns. Cool.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to their appetite to follow as it draws.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I found it really interesting to listen to. How did you feel about that?
It was. I felt the same way. It was interesting.
I think it's
It's
interesting,
so
and
bad.
it's not bad, and you might be like, I mean, I probably wouldn't down inflect for every line. It's rare. It's usually for like the ends. Usually we will want that when we've reached it, when we get to a period or the end of an idea. So I would certainly be like, I would probably want to make sure, and I would say, I think you already are actually, but just in case, just to kind of be really explicit about this. Making sure I'm definitely down inflecting, and probably that I would actually treat that pretty much like that as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, definitely there. So I definitely down inflect there, but the rest of it, it's a choice. And I would say it's probably a good exploration. It's a character choice, because when you did it just then, um, I felt like he felt much more decisive, right? He actually felt more powerful. He was like, this sucks, rather than like, oh no, poor me, which it's a character choice. It's a choice you can make. Maybe you like it sometimes and not others. Yeah, did anything character-wise come up for you in that? I thought it was so interesting.
It did feel stronger. It felt, the anger came out and the indignation really
Right?
started to come out. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's might be a really useful tool for you, um, to try that, especially in this early section where she is really like, this is rubbish. That maybe a down inflection is going to help you, and it's going to help you ground as well. It's going to help you get into that register, so you start the monologue off feeling really strong. So this might be a technical tool that just gives you a really good kickstart at the beginning of a monologue. So I mean, I'd put that in there to explore, and then the second half, maybe because she's still kind of making the decision, maybe that's when you want a little more upward stuff. Maybe, I don't know. So that's an exploration. So how about let's do a run through, let's do the run through of the whole thing. And what I want you to do is just at the end of every line, you're just going to pick intuitively. Okay, this time I'm going to go up, this time I'm going to go down, and don't try and be too analytical about it. There'll be things that work and things that don't. So just play through it with an up and an inflect or down inflect.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the self same tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, follow as it draws, while to my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet had he in him such a mind of honor, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabella, if chaste and brother, die. More than our brother is her chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angela's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest.
Ooh. I found that really interesting to listen to. You know, I was really with you. And I think part of it was because as you were doing that, you were in it, right? And it's just another way to be in it. I think sometimes people are really scared of working technically because they think, oh, I'm just faking it. But actually, when you're thinking about the words and playing with the words, you are in the words, you know, and you're in the story of it. And it's not fake, it's real. It's just a different way to examine them and to experience them. So, yeah, I really, you know, especially with people watching, if you're scared of this stuff, I really think this stuff, I hope people will agree. I think it was so interesting to listen to you and to listen to you figure it out. And what you can do in terms of shaping this piece as you go on in your rehearsal is think about how that contributes to the journey that she's going through, right? And how she's making a decision. You know, when do I want my pitch to help me tell that to show the indecision versus the decision? Because when you really at the end, then when you went his soul's rest and you went down so decisively at the end there, I was like, great, she's definitely made the decision. And I was so with you, and like that told me the stories. The pitch really helped me follow the story then. Yeah, anything that you want to reflect on there? How did it feel?
That was so, I agree. It was interesting to do. I
Mm,
became interested in the language,
yeah,
and it made me curious. Yeah, I'm curious
curious.
about,
Yeah.
like, what do I want to do here, and how, and then and when I hear myself, it's like, oh, how did that feel? So there's just a lot of like reflection going on, but it didn't feel like, oh, in my head reflection. It was just really being in the language, which is my goal. So
Yeah, I think this is a beautiful thing for you to put on your list for any piece. And even honestly, you can do this during performance. Like the more that you get used to this stuff. So this is one of the things that I talk to people about is having something I think I call it a discovery focus, being like basically a movable part, something that can change when you perform. So when you're and it could be technical or it could be a character thing, for example, or emotional choice. But technical for you might be a really good way to keep you in that playful space. So essentially what I mean by that is just choosing something like, okay, this time I'm going to play with my pitch. And you can actually do it during the audition and trusting that you know the character, you know the circumstances, you are connected to emotion. You do not have to prove that to us. I have enough capacity to also be playing while I access this stuff, and it will take me to that place and it will be interesting. Because part of the time, like a lot of the time actually, in auditions, that first stage, definitely with the first round, for example, we're kind of just showing them that we can handle the language. This is a really great way to show people I can handle the language. I'm so in it because I'm playing with the language. And then if they want to push you further emotionally or with the character, they'll do that. They'll do that in a redirect or they'll call you back or whatever. So that to me is like it's a really great place to start from where you can be in a curiosity mindset, which creates ease, gets rid of tension, and it is truly present. Like you say, you're not like, it's just, I wonder what will happen. Did I like it? And it's so nourishing, you know, it's such a nice thing to do for yourself as well. So trust that that's valuable for others to watch and that we enjoy it. Like, I think that can sometimes be the hurdle, right? Is that we think that if I'm playing like that, then people will not be interested or it's not enough to show the character, but it is, you know. So that's what I would say. That's partly for people that are watching as well that are kind of going through that journey, but hopefully that helps you as well. So just to kind of sum up, I think for you, so the big things, and I'll just kind of, I will pop it in some notes that I'll send to you, but I think for you, it's the groundedness as a regular practice, which will grounding your body, and also grounding your voice and making sure that it's there, and releasing tension so you can access the stuff, training yourself through that as a regular practice. And then for this piece, and part of your regular practice, to explore pitch particularly. I think the really important thing that I want you to work on, that's a technical thing that you can have as an area of development, is I think you were probably overdoing attack. And that's why you're breathing a lot, and that's coming into breathiness. So I want you to like be lazy on attack for a bit, which will feel weird. It'll feel sloppy and you'll be like, what? Because and this is often it's a thing that happens a lot with experienced Shakespeare actors. They do tend to overdo things because they know how much is in the text. They're like doing all the things. So you have to trust, like, actually, I am actually really excellent at attack. And what I need is actually just kind of okay attack because I've gone too far down that path. So you can pull it back on attack. And pitch is probably usually it's hard to be like, just do less attack, right? It's sort of like when we go on diets and then we just want to like eat everything and it doesn't work because we've got nothing to focus on. So instead, supplement with more focus on pitch. Where can I take my pitch up and down? And a really play singing your text. Sing your text all the time. You're a singer, you know how to do this. Sing in the lower register, in tone, be a Gregorian monk for a little bit. Those sorts of things actually really, really helpful to keep you on breath and keep you thinking about other ways to balance things out and taking out the extra breath. But I'll write that all up for you as much as I can. Do you have any questions before we wrap up, or anything that you want to target that we didn't get to?
No, I feel like we covered so much
We
ground.
covered
Honestly,
heaps. Yeah, I love it.
amazing. You gave me so many things to play with, so many tools in the toolbox. So thank you.
I'm so excited. I love working with experienced actors. I'm just like, go, do it again because that's what works, and once you just keep doing different things, it all comes together and you just go in different directions to find it. Okay, well, let's wrap up there. Stay on the line. I'll say proper goodbye to you, but I'll say goodbye to our audience. Thank you for joining us. That was so much fun. So if you like this kind of thing, if you're like, I want to do that, firstly, watch this again and join in with Lisa and actually do the exercises. But also you can come and do my group program, or you can work with me one-on-one. But come along for the ride. I've put lots of things on my channel. I've got a playlist called Get Better at Shakespeare, and I've got a few of these kinds of sessions where we're doing all different kinds of exercises to tackle different things. So yeah, no more attacks there. We're all going to back off on attacking. So yeah, take a look there. There's so many resources for you. Thank you so much for being here, and goodbye to our viewers. See you later, everybody.